I'm going to buy that house. I'm coming out of poverty. I know, because we trained them how to speak to themselves. The problem is people think they need to do this in public or when they're on a podcast or a television. Wrong. You don't do that stuff in public. You do it in private. I always tell my female CEOs and leaders, it's not what a man says to you that validates you. It's not what your rabbi or a priest or your pastor or your mentor or even your coach says to you. It's what you say to you that matters.
This is Maestro Minute, the show that discusses all things real estate, sharing interviews with the most successful people in the industry. Hear from their perspective and what they are doing to achieve success. Get exclusive tips on how you can also succeed in real estate. Maestro Minute is brought to you by Maestro Development. Here's your host, Nareg Muradian.
So let's do a little bonus section. I want to talk a little bit with Coach Ron about the cognitive piece and how that works and how it's helped me really with the neurological piece of what's going on with my brain and kind of how I've been developed. So maybe you could shed some light on that.
The predictive analytics space, as we mentioned on the broadcast, predicts outcomes. So if you could have invested in Apple back in 1970 and had a prediction, would you have invested in it?
For sure. Yeah,
right on.
absolutely.
It's a no-brainer. Well, we can do that now with your behavior, and you did it. You actually sat down and took a cognitive predictive analytics assessment. And I'll tell you why that's such a game changer, because there is an old neuroscience term, Nareg, that says neurons that fire together wire together. So inside our brain, we've got hundreds of millions, billions of synaptic fuses. And what happens is the more repetitious we are at practicing whatever it is, you could practice good behavior, you could practice bad behaviors. Right. Whatever that is, neurons that fire together wire together. Here's what we found at my company. We coined this term called neurodifferentiation. And it was a fancy way of saying, if you don't have what you want, you can create it. You can become it. You can achieve it. You can develop it. Much like the human body will develop lean muscle tissue through repetition, the brain will develop new neural pathways through repetition. I don't know if you recall one of the early exercises we had you do, we had you make an I am list.
Right.
Remember how elementary that was? You're like, what the hell?
Right.
I'm a big businessman. I ain't got time for that.
I read that list every day.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's a great list.
This is so
Very
powerful
helpful.
because what you're saying, and I always tell people, pro athletes behind the scenes, they're not saying, oh, I'm so down today. I'm such a loser. They're saying, I'm number one. And they look in the mirror, so I'm the wealthiest player that exists. I'm going to buy that house. I'm coming out of poverty. I know, because we trained them how to speak to themselves. The problem is people think they need to do this in public or when they're on a podcast or a television. Wrong. You don't do that stuff in public. You do it in private. I always tell my female CEOs and leaders, it's not what a man says to you that validates you. It's not what your rabbi or a priest or your pastor or your mentor or even your coach says to you. It's what you say to you that matters.
How does that affect you cognitively?
Neurons that fire together, wire together.
So when you say it, you're firing off neurons?
You're firing a neuron. In fact, you've got to say it. If you don't say it, it doesn't.
Into existence.
That's correct. You're speaking it into existence, but you're also fortifying the thought. So for example, let's go the negative route, like with alcohol. How about that one? I wanted to stop drinking alcohol. It was beginning to be a crutch. In fact, when I was with the New York Times bestseller, Dr. Daniel Amen, before he endorsed my book, he said, how much wine do you drink? I said, I'll probably have 2 glasses a night when I come home. He goes, if you're doing more than 2 a week, it's medicinal. Neurons that fire together, wire together. I was wiring my brain to think that's what I needed to come down. And from that moment on, Nareg, I have never gone back to the wine. And it was because I wanted to know that my brain was more powerful than the drink.
Right.
I mean, what if eventually we ran out of it? What would I have done?
Right.
I mean, just saying.
Right.
And that began this transformation process. Here's the key for our listeners, that anything you want to achieve in life, there is a scientific methodological approach to developing yourself, and it starts with a digital read. It's like getting blood work done. You're able to get inside and see in the plasticity of the blood what are the ailments or actually the benefits. High HDL, low LDL, right? The cholesterol or anything else that's in the blood. Well, we can do this with the brain now. And what it did for you, and you can attest to this, it saved us 6 months, 12 months, 24 months of work trying to pull out of you how you really felt about yourself. And in one coaching session, through neurological adaptation, you adapted into an environment where it read you on demand. And that's what we call on-demand executive assessments.
Well, that's great. I'm a huge believer. It works for me. So, yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of Maestro Minute. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Watch it again. There's a lot of good nuggets on this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maestro Minute podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast if you found it helpful, share it with a friend that could use it, and follow us on all major podcast platforms. The Maestro Minute, powered by Maestro Development.